The Super Shoe is something that has completely revolutionized the sport of distance running, specifically in the marathon. On the men's side, the top 10 times in history have all been set by at least some form of Super Shoe, and this applies to the women's side as well. Before 2023, the GOAT himself, Kipchoge, had been the single biggest person to push this shoe to the mainstream. And the shoes that he had worn over the previous few seasons was the Nike Vaporfly and the first iteration of the Nike Alphafly. It was only in 2022 where Kipchoge ran a new world record in the new orange Nike Alphafly 2s, and this was only a continuation of his absolute unrelenting dominance in the marathon. And then 2023 happened. On the streets of Chicago, a brand new name took back the world record away from Eliud Kipchoge, and this athlete was Kelvin Kiptum. Running a time of 2 hours and 35 seconds, he took 34 seconds off of Kipchoge's previous mark, and he achieved this time in the new Nike Alphafly 3s. At the time, this shoe was not available for mass consumption on the market because it was still somewhat of a prototype, but it did qualify for an official world record. And I am happy to announce that this year, this shoe will be available for wider consumption. However, you will have to drop a hefty price of $280, which is slightly more than I remember for the Nike Vaporflies and the Nike Alphaflies. But apparently, key changes have been made in this one shoe to make every single cent go towards setting a new personal record. Now, it's also pretty exciting to see this shoe coming out in a brand new color scheme, and they call this the Nike Volt variant. You've got a lime green upper, you've got an orange AirPod, on the back you've got this sort of bluish hue that goes from a green to a dark blue, and when you turn it over underneath, you also have a pretty cool looking shoe. You've got the same thing from the yellow to the blue, and the two AirPods underneath are orange, as you can see. I have honestly been a pretty big fan of the Nike iterations and their colors over the previous couple of years. You had the big push with the Nike Vaporflies coming out in neon green and neon pink. You had the original Nike Alphaflies in green and black, which we saw put to full use in the 2021 US Olympic trials. And then, of course, comes out many other iterations, such as the Kipchoge colors, such as colors that come out in people's countries. There's so many iterations, but this one, honestly, is one of my favorites. I am a big fan of this color scheme. I also wanted to dive into exactly why this shoe is so expensive and why it's seen so much success. They're not really inventing anything new here. You've got a very similar AirPod situation that you had with the previous iterations of the Nike Alphaflies, but there's a new addition to this Nike Vaporfly 3, which is the Atom Knit 3.0 upper, and this really makes this shoe the lightest iteration of any other Nike Super Shoe to date. And also, it's no surprise to learn that a carbon fiber fly plate has been placed underneath for maximum energy return, and this is really the cornerstone of Super Shoes, at least for the new Nike Alphafly. On April 4th, this shoe will officially hit the market, but there's also something else that happened at the turn of the new year that I thought was extremely interesting, and that's because many people were buying and reselling this shoe for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. This reminds me of the Adidas shoe that went on the market soon after the women's world record was obliterated at the Berlin Marathon. And for that, there were many people selling this shoe online for well over $500, and there were a few occasions where it reached over $1,000. The big reason why shoe sales like this go down in the beginning is because there's only a few made. This exclusivity really makes people freak out, and it makes people want to get their hands on them for various reasons, whether it's they want to perform well or they just want to be the first person to have it. There were only 521 iterations of the original Adidas shoe that was put into place in last year's Berlin Marathon, and I'm not entirely sure how many Nike Alphafly 3s are being distributed throughout the world right now, but come April 4th, there will be many more pairs of this shoe to reach the market. However, expect for it to sell out extremely quickly, because if there's anything that people want, it's new items like this early. And if you're looking for a new personal record, this might be the shoe to do it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.